and the way that they like
100% agreed. To your point earlier about like Jada was a guest in terms of comedy, right? And you were kind of doing your rebuttal to that. I think anybody in that audience is fair game, so long as they're also celebrities. Because if you're a celebrity, you've chosen a life of entertainment. You have chosen to be in the public eye.
Okay, yes. Going on that, yes.
I think in general, yes, but I think most of the time in the Oscars too, like you make fun of the people who are nominated because also they're nominated and they're receiving this award, and it's kind of like humble them.
It might have gone there. There are plenty of celebrities that keep their relationships on the tuck, and had a comedian went there, I might have been like, look, man, like that this person did not choose that life. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like when you are a celebrity, you have to, in some way, shape, or form, come to terms with the fact that you are going to get talked about. And that narrative, you may not be able to control. Keep your head down, keep working, keep making some great shit. I only, even in the sliver of the only way that I can actually somewhat relate to this, and it's like so minuscule, it's laughable, right? But I'm not sure if you've read our TikTok comments, right?
Bro, you be responding to
it's so funny, man. It's so great. But
how do you have a full-time job, dog?
But listen, I'm aware in those moments when people call me out or like point out something that's like, you know, like whatever. I'm aware in that moment, like I made this public.
Yeah,
sure. My face is there. I chose to press the button. So if people are gonna say whatever they want, you know what I mean? And like I can't at that point get booty hurt,
absolutely,
and like go on this crazy tirade. I can't. I think
that's the issue.
I think to that point,
I'll take it back. I can do that, but it would also be warranted if I understood. Yeah, I made it public.
Sure.
People can say what they want. It's not a big fucking deal.
I agree with that.
Imagine
but I
being
think
a super
everybody has
celebrity.
Limits too.
You're gonna get talked about.
But I think everybody has limits too.
Yes.
And as much as we can say that, like, yeah, I know that if we put stuff on, even with this, we were just talking about like having this perception of us like out there and being like, holy shit, we don't have any control over that. Mm-hmm. However, I feel like it gets down to an issue when we're trying to regulate other people's feelings, which you can't do. You can have an opinion about them, sure, but I can't, like, if I saw a comment that somebody made about me on TikTok, on Instagram, or whatever, and it hurts my feelings, it hurt my fucking feelings. Sure. And if I want to delete the fucking comment, I will. And if I want to block the fucking person, I will. And you can't be like, oh, but you like put it on the internet.
Yeah,
like you should
100%.
I don't give a fuck. Just because I put it on the internet does not mean that I have to listen to you.
Sure. Yeah.
Who the fuck are you?
And to that point, you can't regulate people's feelings, but you also can't regulate people's speech.
Yeah.
But I can. If I decide that I don't want to listen to that shit anymore, I can block you. I can whatever. You know what I mean? Like, I can set the boundaries that I need to set so that we don't interact anymore.
In that sense, yes. But in the Oscars, live, you can't make Chris Rock not say what he wants to say. If Chris Rock, I know Chris Rock apologized afterwards. He also apologized.
He should have put that shit on Instagram.
He said,
I didn't see that apology.
He said, you know, Chris Rock said,
it doesn't feel immortalized.
Chris Rock said, I apologize to my friend Will and Jada. I shouldn't have done that.
Girl, those are your friends.
So it is what it is. But I will go even as far as to say, if Chris Rock never responded, I still don't think he was wrong.
I would 100% think he was wrong.
If Chris Rock responded and said, as a comedian, I can say whatever I want. If they were offended, it sucks. I'm not going to press charges because I like them and I didn't mean anything by it. But if I wanted to press charges, I could. And I didn't do anything wrong.
I will say,
I would have been like, all right.
Do you think there's ever a chance or an instance where a comedian, like, where it is warranted an apology from them?
No.
Like, if you're saying
an apology, yeah, sure, yeah. If they say something or if they do something that is
the only thing
funny,
they can do. So the only way that it is warrant an apology and if someone's feelings should be considered if their joke wasn't funny.
Well, that's the thing though. All of this is subjective.
Yeah.
So like at the end of the day,
that feels insane.
It is.
That feels like we're holding comedians to such a low, buried, underground moral.
Going back to the fact that these people are.
I'm not saying that they are. Sorry, I keep cutting you off. I apologize. I'm not saying that they are not assholes. I'm not saying that you shouldn't. I'm not saying that you should like them. I'm not saying that they should be your favorite person ever.
No,
but they're allowed to say it.
No, but I'm not saying you're saying that. I'm saying if you say that the only time that a comedian that it merits for them to issue an apology when they offended somebody, it's if their joke wasn't funny. It feels like, so as long as you're funny, you can say whatever the fuck you want. You can offend. You can touch,
say whatever the fuck you want
can hurt
all the
anyone's
time.
feelings. I mean, sure,
right?
But I'm saying,
as a comedian, as a profession, if your job is to talk and if your job is to say things and your job is to be funny and you're gonna cross those lines on a professional level, I promise you, Chris Rock wouldn't say that at the dinner table to them because he's not doing his job at that point. He's in a professional setting.
Don't know that, though.
Well, maybe I don't know how close they are. I'm assuming that they're acquaintances in this situation. The point that I'm making is that Chris Rock on doing his job is different than Chris Rock at home doing nothing or hanging out with his friends. Comedians, just like entertainers, they have a job. That's what they do. So whenever they're not at work, they don't act like that. They don't say those things.
But that doesn't matter. If you just because you're on the job does not mean that you get to strip yourself of all moral rules.
But I'm not saying that they're stripped of that.
You're saying that they don't need to apologize and that they can say whatever they want.
But apology has nothing to do with morality. They can still be immoral and based on our rules.
Okay, well, sure, but if you are not apologizing, if you're not recognizing that what you did is wrong, then where is your moral ground?
But again, it goes back to the fact that this is all subjective. So you might think it's wrong. There's a boatload of fucking people.
But that's what I'm saying. Where does the line stop?
And that you're saying that what you're saying is not warranted.
And to her point, the line might be different for everyone.
And I will say, going back to what you were saying, I think the fact, as we've all talked about how relevant Will and Jada have become ever since they've talked about their relationship publicly, I think that's really the only reason why they were even talked about at the Oscars. So going back to the fact that Chris Rock is a comedian, the Oscars are trying to reel people in any way, shape, or form. And it's probably just kind of generally known in Hollywood for comedians. It's I'm probably going to hit on the people that are relevant. If Kimmy K and Kanye were there, they probably would have been making fun of them too.
Never been invited.
Yeah, no,
but anywhere.
But not to the Oscars,
but let's say they were at the Grammys and they have another. Let's say it's the Met Gala and they have somebody.
You don't get cameras in the Met Gala, baby. You can't go in.
Let's say
Anna Wintour, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to disgrace your shit.
Let's say they're at the Grammys. Let's say they're at the Grammys. They have a comedian and they
Grammys, perfect place.
Right, but at that moment.
MTV Awards.
I'm sure a lot of people would be like, well, it's completely okay for you to talk about Kimmy K and Kanye right now because they're making their shit so public. So you know, if you don't want people to talk about it, don't put it on in the world, right? That's how a lot of people have been thinking about it. So the fact that Will and Jada put it out in the world so long ago and they're still relevant because of it is probably a good reason why he even talked about Jada. Because if you literally look next to Jada, there's another woman that's bald, and they didn't talk about her because you wouldn't get the reference or care that they're talking about that lady.
Well, to be honest, I didn't get the reference when he said it.
You would own, people are talking about it because they're like, oh my God, they talked about Jada. I wonder what Will's gonna do.
Sure.
Here's another thought experiment.
I am not questioning him. I understand that you want to get the most word out. You know what I mean? You want to get the biggest reaction. You want to I understand. Yeah. Sure. And even if they hadn't gone through the entanglement thing, Will and Jada Pinkett Smith are Hollywood legends. They are royalty at this point. They are veterans. They are established. They are Angelina and Brad Pitt. Who you know what I mean? They are done. They don't need the cloud. They don't need the promo. They don't need that shit.
Yeah.
So they could have been at any given point. They could have been the butt of the joke. I think the problem again is which okay, one, the problem is you're making fun of her condition, which is fucked up. Like, if she had... Everybody knows that. Like,
there were some claims that you didn't know that she had alopecia.
I cannot expect Chris Rock to live in Hollywood and be part of pop culture and be part of that entire entertainment industry and allegedly be friends with Will and Jada, as he called him on his apology, and not know.
That's a good point.
That he made a documentary about black hair.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
the importance of black hair to black women, and you don't know that a black woman has struggled with alopecia, which is also like something that specifically affects.
We don't know that.
Sure, I can say that he might not, but the percent, like the probability that he didn't, the probability that he didn't is so fucking low.
Let's assume he does.
That I wouldn't even. Like, I wouldn't even argue from that side.
Yeah,
it doesn't. You know what I mean? Like,
I think he did. Let's assume he does. Then what happens then?
Then okay, so I understand why he would. Number one, you're making fun of someone's condition, which, like you said, like it's fine if you're not offended by it, but that doesn't make it okay. And this is not just like she decided to shave her head. Which it would have been, again, it would have been a silly joke if he would have done it then. But this is a condition which also she has been very vulnerable about how it has affected her, like mentally and emotionally. So it's not just like, this is something to point out, because you were talking about your ears earlier.
Yeah.
But it, like, are your ears like a big insecurity on you that have actually,
you don't know.
Right, I don't know. But I'm saying, like, that's what I'm trying to, like, convey. Like, she has already expressed, like, this is a very vulnerable topic for me. It's an issue that has cost me a lot of, like, trauma, a lot of mental and emotional distress. Like, this is something that has affected her very, very deeply. So, again, it's like, so he's just allowed to cross any line. And number two, which a lot of people were talking about, and like I want to touch on it, but I don't want to get like super deep into it, because obviously I'm not like a black person, so I can't speak for the community. But from what a lot of people were talking about, it just doesn't sit right that you would make a black woman who, again, was not nominated, was not a big personality in that specific event. She wasn't necessarily the most relevant person. You could have made fun of her husband, who was nominated for multiple awards.
Yep.
That you would make a black woman that had nothing to do with the ceremony, that you would use her condition to make her the butt of your joke, especially in a white dominated space. There was absolutely no need for that. No need for that. Because number one, you could have made jokes about anything else. Sure. Because also alopecia is also a very particular condition. Like, obviously a lot of people can suffer from it, but it's very, very common on black women. More than I think other I mean, I could be wrong.
Other demos?
Yes. So it feels like a weird choice that out of everyone in the audience, out of everybody else you could have made fun of, you made fun of a black woman in a white space just for... on national television, you decided to use her condition as the butt of your jokes. Again, also a lazy joke, if I may add. Like,
yeah, it wasn't supposed to be like a hard-hitting joke. It was supposed to be a passive. You were supposed to move on quickly after that.
And like, again, you said it was subjective, which I'm sure that it is. Like, I'm sure that which is why people have been arguing it for 3 fucking days.
Right.
But that's what I mean. It's like, okay, so then comedians have absolutely no limits. They have absolutely no boundaries, because it's...
And the answer I say to that is no, they have no boundaries.
That feels insane.
That is the freedom of being able to say whatever you want.
But also, isn't that, again, like, doesn't that kind of depend on your audience? Like, doesn't your audience set your... If your audience sets your limits, and your audience... Again, like, if the person that is a butt of jokes is in your audience, them and the people who are also affected by the joke in relation to that person, then you don't, like, I don't feel like you get to be like, well, it was just a joke and you have to take it. No, it wasn't a joke. I don't take it. I was offended by it. You hurt my fucking feelings. Don't fucking do it again.
And to that, if a comedian said, if you said that to a comedian and they were like, well, I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep doing my bit. And you don't have to stay here. You don't have to sit and watch me. You can leave. it's at that point, to your point, the audience dictates whether it was great or not. It was funny or not. So, yes, you're allowed to say whatever you want. If it doesn't hit, you get this smoke too, though. If that shit wasn't funny, we get to tell you that you're trash. We get to tell you that you ain't shit. You bombed, try again another time, because that wasn't it. And they have to deal with that also. The problem with saying like, oh, you don't get you have to warrant an apology is like, okay, does he have to apologize to everybody in the room then? Because he made fun of other people. And
if
we don't know if they were offended or not.
Then maybe yes.
Right, but what? Is he going to go and survey everybody? Like, hey, were you offended by the jokes that I made? Hey, were you offended by the jokes that I made?
No, because nobody's telling you to do that. Nobody told Chris Rock to go talk to Will Smith.
Will Smith took it upon himself to cross that line.
So we're not saying you have to go talk to everybody else. If somebody makes it known that they were offended, then obviously that's when you know. Nobody's expecting you to go to every single person, so that's not even part of the argument.
But to that point, he did apologize to Will Smith, and he did apologize to Jada. The only point I was making is, if he didn't do it, I still wouldn't think it was a big deal. I'm personally saying, myself, if he would have even made a statement that said, "I'm sorry that they were offended, and I'm more than happy to talk to them one-on-one, but I'm also gonna stand my ground and say like I don't think it was that bad."